All right, we're back. Um, we're jumping straight into this one, guys. We need to learn how to weaponize fear. Right? Fear is very, very. It plays a very important role in all of our lives. Right? I mean, fear can literally dictate the outcome of your life. It is powerful. It is so powerful. And if you don't learn how to control it and how to weaponize it for your benefit, then it can literally change the entire course of your life, and it can impact the decisions you make, the people you meet, the things that you do, colleges you go to, the dreams that you chase, everything. And I mean, it is a big deal. Fear is a big, big deal. So let's break this down. Fear, I, it's one of those things that it creeps into you. Is it something that you're born with? Is it something that is kind of taught to you? And obviously, okay, like fear, as far as like like somebody runs up to you, with a knife. Obviously, you get a little scared. Like I'm not talking about that kind of fear. I'm talking about the the learned fear, right? You sit around and will very people will try to convince you that if you are chasing your dreams, or if you're trying to start a business, or or you're trying to do this, people will try to almost strike a fear into you that, hey, this is, like, you got bills to pay, you got to go to school like everybody else, you got to work a job like everybody else, and they'll kind of instill this fear in you from a young age that you can't do certain things, that you have to keep your head straight, and you got to, you know, you just got to be normal, you just got to be like everybody else, and that's not true at all. you know an average life comes from average living. If you, I mean, and that's pretty simple, and that sounds, obviously, but if you really think about that, your life, people want to live a mediocre, regular, everyday, relaxed, comfortable life, and then expect some big, lavish, nice lifestyle in the future that comes from hard work, and that's just not how that works. You know, and fear is what drives a lot of that. So many people that I've talked to and I've met, and even me, I've been the victim of this. Is you know, it's almost like, and I don't even know if it's learned. Maybe it's just a natural fear that everybody has. But so many people, man, they don't chase their dreams. They don't put in the effort. They don't take the risk because they're scared. That fear resides in their brain, and it controls the actions that they do. So many people, man, they man, I wanted to play professional tennis, man, and but I was scared. I was scared that I was going to fail. I was scared that people were going to think I was weird for liking tennis. I was afraid this, that, and the other. And I wasn't really great at it, but I really wanted to try. But I just was afraid. Blah 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 blah. Or I wanted to start my business, but I was afraid to go into a little bit of debt, or I was afraid to try something new. I was afraid to leave my job because that was secure, and this, that, and the other. And that's not the way to go about it. That is not you speaking. That is the fear speaking to you. And you have to understand that. You have to be able to differentiate when is it that it's you in your mind, and when is it that it's fear in your mind. And sometimes you can't recognize that mess, man. Sometimes it creeps in and it's just there. And it's like you don't even recognize it, and it's like it's taken over you, and you don't even know where to, like, you don't even recognize it. You can't identify it, because you're not paying attention to it. Because a lot of times, guys, when it comes to stuff like this, and it comes to being able to read, the thoughts in your head and be able to differentiate what is good and what is bad as far as like the voices that are speaking to you and stuff like that, man, is that a lot of times it makes sense. Sometimes it literally makes sense to not chase your dreams and to not, you know, put in that effort, put in that work and take that risk and give it everything you got. And sometimes you can really make that make sense. And sometimes it seems crazy to go after your dreams. But guys, that is the point. People act like, oh, but that's true, and it doesn't make sense to do this. It doesn't make sense to, quit my job and start my business and go into a bunch of debt and risk everything. That's the point. If it was a normal, natural, safe thing, everybody would do it. If you were guaranteed success and it was easy to do, and there was just a small business fund, or there was a, whatever, that you could just take whatever risk you want, or you didn't even have to take a risk, you just do whatever you wanted, and there was, oh, well, if this doesn't work out, I'm still just go back. You have to understand that dilutes the importance and the value of your dreams. Having that security, having that blanket of safety underneath you, that, oh, well, if I fail, it's all right. That a lot of times kills your dreams. Many dreams die while suffering. Whenever you start to go through that time of it's hard and you're in the trenches. It is terrible. It sucks. You're fighting as hard as you can. You're pulling every resource and nothing's working out for you. And to still wake up, man, and to look at that and say, today's going to suck, but I have to do it. And you don't have anything else. That's where people are made. But as soon as you get to that point and you're in that suck, and you're in that hardship, and you're in that, tribulation, and you have a blanket of security of, oh, it's okay, I can just fall back on this, and this is comfortable, and this feels good, and this is safe, you won't do it. You will not. Most people don't have the mental fortitude to say, no, I have this blanket of security, but I'm not done yet. And that's something that you have to have. That is something that's so important, and you have to be able to recognize that. People say burn the boats, and that is so true, because most people can't handle having a comfort, a security, whatever. Most people need to burn the boats, to have no way out, and to channel it through. Because if you don't do this, you have to think about it like this. If you don't achieve your purpose and your dreams, then you will, then what is the point of anything? People, they're content and comfort, man. Screw that, man. That's a bunch of crap. Because if you never try, then you will die never even trying to be your 100% self. You will never try. You will never try. And you have to, not only do you have to live with that, you have to die with that. You have to die leaving this earth knowing that every gift, every effort your parents made, all the support you had or support you didn't, whatever, you wasted every bit of it. Everybody doesn't have the same starting point. Some people, they don't have support from their family, their friends. They don't have, there's not, mom, dad, and grandma, and brother and sister sitting there telling you, hey, man, good job. I'm proud of you. Keep going here. I'll help you out. Everybody doesn't have that, but we all still have a mind. We all still have, the ability to make the best out of what we do have, and that's why I get so frustrated with people who are in healthy bodies and don't work out. Now, yes, does everybody in the world have to work out? No. Does everybody have to be a bodybuilder? No. But if you have a able body and you're not even trying to keep it healthy, to maintain a status of health and wellness, and to grow on that, man, there are so many people that would trade that would trade anything in the world to go into my body. And that's what keeps me going a lot of times. You have to throw away that fear of of it's going to suck, or it's going to hurt, or I'm going to fail, or you know what if I can't? Oh, what if people don't like me? What if people are mad at me that I skip out on hanging out with my buddies on Friday night and I go work out, or I sit home, Saturday night I don't go clubbing, I sit here and work on my business on my computer, or I get out there and I cut grass, or I get out there and pressure wash, whatever it is, whatever you're trying to do, man, 9 times out of 10, guys, those people who are not actively achieving better are not going to be anywhere in 9 to 10 years. And you have to make a critical choice. Now, I'm not saying you ditch your friends and you throw them into the gutter and you just leave and go off by yourself. No, what I'm saying is that you have to recognize, you're like, hey guys, I have to work hard, and let that be the example to them. You have to use that fear the opposite way. Instead of fearing, oh, my friends aren't going to like me, oh, I'm going to fail, oh, I'm just going to suck, it's going to hurt, I'm going to have hard times, I'm going to have hardships. Turn that fear around and change it and project it into, I'm going to be a failure at the end, a real failure. People throw failure around a lot. People throw a fail and this, that, and the other. Most of the time, they're using it incorrectly. If you're trying and you slip up, it's a mistake. It's an error. Everybody has them. You got to keep going. Don't let that word failure get in your head. But you have to turn that as, but real failure is at the end of your life knowing you could have done more and you didn't. Real failure is looking back and looking at your kids or your grandkids and knowing that you didn't set a good example and you didn't lead by example and you didn't showcase them what the path of success can look like. Somebody in your family has to break that chain or break that poverty cycle or break the laziness cycle or break the overweight cycle. Everybody wants to pin it on genetics. Everybody wants to say, oh, well, you're fat because you're genetics, blah, 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 blah. That's not true. If I listen to that, if I would have left that in my head that my genetics are going to make me fat, I would still be 207. I'd be more now. I was 265 pounds when I was 16, 17 years old. I'm 20 years old now, and I'm 185 pounds as of this morning. If I would have if I would have adopted that mindset of it's your genetics, some people are genetically fat, some people are genetically lazy, some people, that's a bunch of crap, and it's an excuse to not put forth any effort into your life and to just let it play out like a predetermined chess match. I mean, it's just nothing. And what that is, that's rooted from fear. That's rooted from fear of failure and fear of missing out. And that's all a bunch of crap. It's all a bunch of crap, man. You can't, guys, you cannot let this idea that you're going to miss out on something with other people keep you from doing what you want, because all you're ever going to do is look back and say, man, I shouldn't have done that. Man, I wish I'd have kept going with that idea that I had. I had a good idea and I gave up on it because I was scared. What is it that is so important to so many people that you're willing to just throw your purpose and your desires away, and your true desires, not your fleshly, earthly, I want to party, I want to hang out, I want to hook up, not those desires. I'm talking about the real stuff. I'm talking about that pit in your stomach when you're sitting in the crowd at awards day and in elementary school or middle school, and you're watching all the other kids get trophies and you didn't, because you didn't put in the effort, because you wanted to play games when you got home, or you wanted to mess with Bakugan or Pokemon cards or whatever. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that pit in your stomach of you're in high school and you're watching everybody else. You're watching the kids that worked hard in sports and they're getting scholarship to go, and you never wanted to play because it was hard, it was tough, and you didn't like to sweat, you didn't like to be uncomfortable. You got sick when you threw, or you throw up when you run a little bit, and you never pushed through that, so you quit. And I'm talking about me, because those are exactly the things that I've felt and that I've done. And now I see that, and now I know that the effort that I'm putting in now, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, is going to be a payoff. And when I get there, guess what? Same mentality that I have today, hopefully better, with more knowledge and wisdom, that I'm going to continuously get better, continuously grow. I'm going to continuously weaponize fear to manipulate my emotions to push me towards success and towards things that I want to achieve, the purpose that burns my heart and that heart's desire of wanting to utilize all the gifts that God's given me. You know, you can't let that fear mess you up, man. You gotta be able to see, you gotta see that there's more. You have to visualize more than that. Because all that's ever going to do is leave you with regret and sorrow and a pit in your stomach of I could have done more. And I've experienced enough of that. I haven't lived long. I'm not super old, but I've experienced enough of that suck in your gut, man. Whenever you're just sitting there and you're like, dang, man, all these people, why are they better than me? You know, and you have to get past that. You know, nobody wants to live that life. I don't care what you say. People try to say that, oh, I'm fine, I'm content, blah, blah, blah. That's a bunch of crap. They know it. Guys, be more than what your fear lets you be, and continue to have that burning passion of success that you desire. Um, you know, don't give in to what everybody else tries to tell you. Just got to keep pushing forward, guys. Take that, think about it, let it rest on your mind, guys. And yeah, that's it for today. See you guys.